Welcome to the Coffee with Closer show, where we interview real investors that are doing real deals in this current market about how they are finding, funding, and flipping the deals. We talk about what they are doing that is working and the things they did that didn't work so that you can save time and money as you become a real investor. Welcome to the Coffee with Closer show.
Everybody, well, guess what? We've got another great show. I've got one of the best. I mean, when you hear about what this guy's doing, you are going to be shocked. And I want to introduce him. You can see him right here on the screen. Don. Don, say hi to everybody.
How's it going, man?
I'm good. We were digging in a little bit before we even started, and I had to stop.
Right.
Because I'm a natural interviewer. I just want to dig. Like, how you doing that? How you doing that? But guys, like you know, this show's all about real investors doing real deals in our real market. And this is not any of that HGTV stuff. If you like what you see here today, just by all regards, subscribe to our YouTube channel, get more involved in our show. But I kind of want to just jump right in real quick with Don and just kind of, one, I want to start with really your story, Don, because, you know, there's going to be people from all over watching this, new investors, seasoned investors. But I like to start with, what was it that, I don't know, like, what was it that made you wake up one day, however many years ago, and say, you know what? I'm going to go be one of these crazy real estate investors, and I'm going to beat the road until it works. I mean, what was that transition? What happened in your life to make you move over to the red pill side?
Yeah, you know, I think like a lot of us in this business, you know, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur first. I've always been entrepreneurial in my life. And, you know, I tried different businesses before real estate investing. Some of them I did okay in, some of them I didn't. I just knew I couldn't punch a clock. And real estate investing always interests me. I watched Carlton Sheets and different things like that back in the early, I guess the mid 90s, late 90s. And I kind of circled real estate investing for a while. It just, at a certain point, it became my widget, right? It's where I landed. I interviewed with a guy who I was interviewing to be a mortgage officer, loan officer, because I wanted to learn real estate investing. That was something that just really intrigued me. And he asked me why I was there, and I told him I was there to learn about the financing side of real estate, and because I wanted to be a real estate investor. And he thought for a minute, and he kind of leaned across his desk and he goes, you know, you go find the properties, I'll put up the money and we'll split it. And that was kind of my foot in the door, and went out and started knocking on doors and realized I was really good at talking sellers into selling me their homes and putting deals together. So it was a natural fit. I can't say that it was something, like I said, that was first on my radar. It just was one of the things on my radar, and it ended up being the thing that was a natural fit that I was good at, and it became my widget. So I think you'd agree we're all entrepreneurs first, and real estate's the widget that gets us where we want to go. Yeah,
it's kind of like I was a born entrepreneur. I mean, I used to sell candy at school, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, like, I just remember for me, I was just sitting at an event one day and I thought, this is it. Like, and then when I went out and started applying it, I was like, oh, I feel good at this, right? Like, it was a natural progression. But you said something that's a little bit different than from what some of my other guests have said, is like, you went out, started talking to people and ended up finding money first.
Yeah, I found money by accident. And I think that, you know, I always talk about it as being a mindset shift for me, because one of the things that kept me from getting in is I was scared of the money part of it. I didn't have money. I didn't have credit like most people. I didn't come from a family with money. The idea of reaching out to anybody that I knew to loan me money to do deals was taboo. And the few people that I did actually get the courage to talk to kind of blew me off. So it was one of those things I circled for a number of years. I just circled it. And it was not something that I felt like I could pull off. You know, you hear no money, no credit, no this, no that, you can do it. And I didn't believe it. And it wasn't until that guy in that moment said, I'll back you, that it clicked for me that I could really make this happen. And looking back on it now, I want to encourage people that, you know, you don't need money to do this business, to get started in this business. You don't need to have a backer. For me, I didn't know whether or not the guy had the money or not, but the belief that I had the money there was all I needed to put the wind in my sails.
Right.
Now, you know, it's important people to understand, if you're able to identify and put together a good deal, the money's going to be there. You don't have to have the money beforehand.
Well, and especially right now, right? Like money's everywhere right now. I mean, if we go back, when did you start investing, Don?
2003. First time around was 2003.
2003. So 16 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the same time I started. So yeah, I mean, back then it was easy to find money, but you, like me, we went through a period where money dried up. Like you couldn't find money out there. Nobody wanted to touch it with a 10-foot pole. And, that's why I'm telling like all the new people coming in now, I'm like, you guys have money everywhere. Like you just got to get the money issue out of your head. So you started 16 years ago. Mm-hmm. And you got into real estate and you said, hey, look, this is my thing. I'm going to go for this. But here's one thing I always like to dig out of people. So that first year, right? Like first year, like I'm going in, like it's kind of scary, right?
Yeah, my journey is probably a little different. So I have two lives in this business, right? I have two first years. I have 2012 when I started back up again and 2003 when I started the first time. And the first time around, 2003, 4, 5, basically you could throw a rock at a house and turn a profit. If you didn't run a real business and you didn't run it effectively and it took longer to rehab a project than expected, you actually made more money. And so if you remember that time period, it was real easy for people to really be not careful about things and not proper about things and still be successful. And I was one of those fools that just thought that everything I touched turned to gold. And my first year, I made a lot of money. It was actually really easy for me. I was naive and started building the business, real estate company, property management company, mortgage company, had 3 offices, 40 agents in the real estate and mortgage side, flipping houses. Started a sunglass line, a restaurant, and nightclub, doing all kinds of crazy stuff because I thought it was never going to end. So my first run at this was a fool's errand. It was not fear and anxiety. It was, it's too easy. It's too good. It's never going to end. And then here comes 2008, and I'm leveraged to all ends of everything with money going out as faster than it's coming in. And as you said, the market just seized, it dries up, and you couldn't get money from anybody. And you couldn't get deals. And my whole world began to fall apart from 2008 to 2012 in just the worst way possible.
Right. So, but the good news is you're still here and you're still fighting, right?
Well, yeah, but so it is, and the reason why my world fell apart is because I wasn't running a real business and I was a bottleneck in my organization. I didn't build a proper team. I didn't have proper systems and I wasn't focused on my core competency, but I went broke. I went broke to the point where I was buying gas with quarters, going to the grocery store with a calculator, having my house falling out of foreclosure. And it wasn't until I hit rock bottom that I got back into real estate. And so I got back into it in 2012, and getting back into it, I learned the hard way that I needed to build a real business. So from 2012 till now, that's what I've concentrated on: finding the right people, the right systems, the right processes, and building a real business.
We're going to dig into that part too. So I like how you said I had to hit rock bottom. Sometimes that's what we have to have in life, right? It's like, I say this all the time to people, but there was a point in my life, I guess it was about 17 years ago, I was on rock bottom. I was literally living in a crack house. Not that I was doing crack, to be clear there. But the guy who had it, he said, look, I'll rent it to you for $125 a month, but you got to clean it up. Well, I didn't realize it was a crack house until I got in there, but I was on bottom. Like I was as low as I could go. And I remember my mom was on the phone with me and we were talking, and, I was just puking about all the things going wrong in my life and sorrow this, sorrow that. And she started laughing at me. And I was like, why are you laughing at me, Mom? And she said, well, because son, you only got one way to go. You're already on bottom.
That's the best way to look at it, right?
I was like, okay, yeah, I'm on bottom. I only got one way to go, which is up. But I think it goes like this. And as a coach myself, and I know you do coaching as well, I always say this, look, I would rather be coached by somebody that's been up and down and back up again, because they've seen it. They didn't give up. They dug their way back out. They know what it's like to have and lose, because when you've had and lost, you're more prepared going back at it again.
Right.
So
agreed, 100%.
I get all of that. All right, man. Well, let's talk about this. What kind of deals are you doing right now in your market? Well, before I say that, I just want to say this to everybody that's watching and you're checking out the show. Don, over the time that you've been in this, could you give me a rough number about how many deals you've done to date?
I somewhere near 1,000 or so deals, I would say. We've been doing 100 plus deals a year for a few years now, and I was doing pretty well before the crash. So somewhere upward near 1,000.
So you got a little bit of knowledge.
yeah, and some black and blue marks to come with it, but I do. Yeah,
we're gonna talk about those. Yeah. I think that's important. People tune into this to hear from real investors, right? Not somebody that's done it 15 years ago and not doing it today. So what kind of deals are you guys focused on? Because I know you've got a big company now. You've got CEOs and pro CFOs and marketing people and acquisitions managers, and you got a whole system in place, which is probably what you learned through that process. But what are the type of deals that your operation is focused on right now?
So I started as a rehabber. I got back in 2012 and was a rehabber, and that's primarily what we've done is kind of cookie cutter rehab properties for the most part through most of my career. In 2018, we added wholesale in because we started marketing heavy. We did 1.2 million postcards in 2018, and when you rehab, everything's got to fit in the box. And we knew we were going to be throwing leads away, so we started wholesaling. That was a scary transition, a mindset thing too. We did 58 wholesales in 2018. We'll do probably somewhere near that, 50 or so wholesales again for 2019. So now we're rehabbing and wholesaling as an organization. So most of the homes we do are your middle of the road homes, your first time, second time buyer price points. It's where we like to stay. It's our sweet spot. And yeah, we'll do some major rehabs, but we try to stay away from them. It's primarily the get in, get out stuff.
So what market are you focused on right now?
So I'm in California. We go from basically the Central Valley, Bakersfield, all the way up to Sacramento, and then we're in several of the Bay Area counties as well. We are in Lane County, Oregon at this point also, and we've kind of stuck our toe in and out of Las Vegas. We're still trying to get a feel for entering that market.
Yeah. I started in California.
Did you?
I did. That's where I started. I started in Solano County. My first office was in Vallejo, California.
All right. That's cool.
And then my second office was in Suisun City, if you know where those are.
I don't know where Suisun is, but I know where Vallejo is. Yeah.
So when you're going north out of Vallejo into Fairfield, right before you get to Fairfield, you turn off like you're going out to Rio Vista.
Okay.
And it's a little water community outside of Fairfield. Okay. But yeah, so I worked in the Valley. I was in Modesto. I was all the way up into Sacramento. I mean, that's 16 years ago. That was where I went in heavy, and I did really well out there because when the market did turn out there and it went down, well, I was still buying, but I was buying them so cheap, Don. Like I was buying houses for $80,000, and we were renting them for $1,600 a month.
Wow. Yeah.
10 years. And then we started selling them for like $350, $375, $400. I mean, it was a cash machine. So I'm kind of waiting on California to do that again.
I can imagine. Yeah. If I would have stayed in when the market crashed, I had too many things going on and too much money issues when it turned on me. If I would have stayed in or got back in a lot sooner, we probably would be talking today. I'd probably be on a beach somewhere, but it was a full, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, and I wish I would have went more all in. My mentor told me to go all in, and I didn't. I was scared. Yeah. I'd never seen a market crash before, so I didn't know how to prepare myself. But I had a really smart mentor that was helping me along the way. He kind of was helping me see what was coming, and he was like, "Go all in," and fear set in, and I did. I mean, I bought several, but I kicked myself today that I didn't buy more. But, it's the unknown, right? So you guys are focused on rehabbing in the California area. You're also doing some wholesaling out there. Are you doing the Solano County area, Vacaville, Fairfield? Are you in that area at all?
We're in Contra Costa County. We're in Alameda County, Sacramento, San Joaquin, Stanislaus, Merced, Madera, Fresno, Kings, Tulare, and Kern, I believe, is what we're in California right now.
Okay, so you're not going into the Fairfield, Vacaville area at all.
Not so much yet. That's on our radar. We've gotten some pretty good momentum.
If you ever do, you need to look up a guy by the name of Rusty Simmons.
Okay.
And he's a good friend of mine. He does what we do. He's a realtor / investor, but he wholesales deals too. And he's just a good guy. He's been doing it longer than I've been doing it. So he's like one of the grandfathers out there. All right. So talk to me about this. How are you guys? Give me, 3 or 4 things that your company's doing right now to find the deals that you're going after.
We are we're heavy direct mail. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Like that's one of the things. I'm old school in that fashion, and so direct mail has always been a fantastic source of leads for us. We do we really tested out the slide broadcast stuff, and I don't love it. We'll use it for follow up, but we don't really use it for marketing.
I mean, slide into voicemails type stuff.
The RBMs or the ringless voicemails. We do text messaging. That does work. That gets us deals. We do some intermittent cold calling within our office when we don't have a whole lot of high call volume. That yields deals. But our primary deal source is one of twofold. It's direct mail and follow up. This year, we have this month we got 22 deals in contract, right? This month alone. And I would say 18 of those deals came from our database. I sent out 1.2 million postcards in 2018. I've been marketing, for a number of years now. So we got all kinds of numbers and names in our Podio system. Some are marked dead, some are marked follow-up, some are marked whatever. We're going through the dead stuff. We're going through everything, and we're pulling deals out of that. And so it's crazy this year to see that, we've mastered the follow-up at a level that I consider follow-up a marketing channel now to a large degree.
Yeah. So, no, that's amazing, man. I scream follow-up constantly. I don't care what business you're in. Follow-up is where you eliminate 90% of your competition. And then depending on how skilled you are at your follow-up, will eliminate another 50%, right? Right. So here's the thing, though. I know what people are going to write on our channel is like direct mail is such a broad term. There's so many ways to do direct mail or go after direct mail. What are some of the big things that you are hammering for direct mail?
As far as list goes, I mean, I am a shotgun approach, so I'm going to hammer a lot of stuff that a lot of people will do, like the absentee owners. But I also hit owner occupied properties, different equity positions and whatnot. We'll do some distress stuff. I do the Richter list, the Adanic list as well.
The what? I'm sorry.
The Adanic list, Richter list. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. It's a complicated one to explain, but there's some algorithm that says whether or not they're most likely to buy, or most likely to sell within a period of time and that kind of thing. Gotcha. So it's, we do a mixture of lists. What's I think that I want to stress works for us is that especially when we enter new markets, direct mail doesn't perform in every market exactly the same. Right. So we do a lot of testing and we track, like if we change the list or the postcard variation in any way, shape, or form, it gets assigned a new phone number, a new split test. And we're tracking all that information. We're tracking, we're not just tracking, a lot of people look at, well, that didn't give me a good response rate. Yeah, but did it convert? If 200 people call and I get one contract, or 10 people call and I get one contract, to me, it's the same thing. Right. Yeah. I'm looking at conversion. So we're looking at that. We're looking at conversion. We're looking at dollars brought in. We're looking at all that. So all the way through our pipeline, we're looking at the split test and seeing about performance and so on and so forth. And I've identified, we have high hanging fruit lists and low hanging fruit lists. We have lists that when we mail to, we're going to get calls. We're going to get contracts right away. We have lists we mail to. We're going to get calls. We're going to have to follow up. There's going to be some work involved, and we're going to get contracts down the road. And so we've been able to see, okay, this is how we're going to deploy our dollars properly. And that's what makes direct mail successful for us. If you're just going to send and cross your fingers and wait for the phone to ring, and that's what you're going to do, you're not going to be successful, probably with any marketing channel, but especially with the marketing channel as competitive as direct mail is. You got to.
Well, and in your market too.
Right.
That's a highly competitive market out there. And you're dealing with people with big pockets too out there. Mm-hmm. I'm in Alabama.
Right. Right.
Look, I interviewed 2 people yesterday just to point this out, and they're doing very well here. They spend $0 on marketing.
Good for them.
$0. $0. And
Right.
it's all just through their network. And they buy from wholesalers, and they buy from their network, and they buy from just, their power team members. And they're not doing 100 plus deals a year, let's be honest there, but their goal is not to build a big company. They're happy if they do 10, 15, 20 deals a year. You know what I mean? And they're like, look, I can live great in Alabama on that kind of money. But I'm like, so you don't have any marketing budget? And they're like, nope. Mm-hmm. I'm like, that's amazing.
That's the way I started, though. I started networking. I started trolling Craigslist. I would troll Craigslist every day and look at any kind of we buy houses or this or that ad, and I'd be calling people and introducing myself. I'm a flipper. I'm looking for deals. Are you a wholesaler or a cash buyer? I would call bandit signs. I would talk to real estate agents. I mean, that's when you have no money when you start. That's how you need to start, and to build relationships in the network. And a lot of people do build their business and run their business that way for the long term. That's where I started at. And it's a fantastic. So when anybody asks the question, what do you do when you have no money? Go out there and talk to as many people as you possibly can. Let them know what you're doing.
So answering this, where was it in your journey that you said that you wanted to go big? What was it? Are you just naturally wired that way? I mean, what was it where you were like, look, I'm not good with 20 deals a year. I want to do 100 deals a year.
Maybe I'm a glutton for punishment. I don't know. I didn't have stability in my last business. I didn't have a real business the last time around. That's one of the 2 things that destroyed me was, 1, I didn't have a real business. I was an idiot. I was a bottleneck. I didn't have a good team. And 2, I was shiny object syndrome. I was chasing everything under the sun. And so the commitment I made to myself this time around was, 1, I was going to build a real business, and 2, I was going to stay in my lane. So one of the I have the podcast. One of the reasons I had the podcast because my business got to a point where it didn't need me every day, and I didn't want to get shiny object syndrome. I wanted to talk to intelligent people like you and learn from them and stay in my lane. So that's one of the reasons I launched the podcast. So focus is a big thing for me. So this time around, it was like, I could be a solopreneur. I could do this. I could make some money, but I'm always going to be a prisoner to my business. Right. Or I could build a real business and then be able to do the things and have the time and freedom that I wanted to have. So that's what I decided to do. It wasn't easy. There were pain points and obstacles along the way. There were times I wanted to quit in the process. There were times where I put people in place and they let me down. But looking back on it now, it's all worth it. I have a fantastic team. I take 0 credit for what we do and what we accomplish. It's all 100% them. They're doing it. We put all the deals in place this year that we did, and I didn't see one of them. I only see them if I ask or if I want to know, and it's all because of them. And that's that's stability to me. That's long term. That's something this operation is going to run whether I'm engaged in it or not. And that was important to me this time around, is to be able to have a business that didn't live or die because I was a fool or not.
No, I'm with you, man. That's good stuff. And I hope people are really hearing what you're saying because, sometimes we run the business because we're emotional, and then we start seeing the profits come in and we think we're rock stars. Yeah. But we're unbreakable. Like, this is never going to go away. And then we get a real good hard slap in the face, and it wakes some of us up. So let's lean in on that a little bit, Don. When we were talking about your journey, what were some, and I know you said you had the wrong team, but if you were talking to a new person who hasn't even built a team yet, I mean, what's something that you did wrong your first run at this, other than I didn't have the right team in place? What was one thing that you were like, man, this one thing probably cost me my portfolio or my company that somebody new watching this could really take home and take to the bank?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can place one thing on that, but I can say, first and foremost, when I say the wrong team, that's probably a bad way of putting it. I can't say that I didn't have the right people, because I may have had the right people, but I was a bad boss. I was a bad leader. I didn't develop those people into the pillars I needed them to be in my organization. I was a bottleneck. I didn't let them make decisions. All decisions had to depend on me. So the operation moved slowly. And again, I didn't develop them. You got to be a builder of people. You can't just plug and play. You can't just keep plugging and playing. You got to look at somebody, look what their potential could be, and build them into that. If you do that, you're going to have somebody that's strong and loyal in your organization. Mistake number one, the first time around. The other thing, like I said, with shiny object syndrome, I was paying attention to way too many things instead of my core competency. That cost me a lot of money. That cost me a lot of frustration in my business. And that was probably one of the reasons why I didn't spend the time developing people like I should have. The last
because
thing,
you weren't developing yourself, right?
I wasn't developing myself. Exactly.
Right.
So, which is huge. Self-development. You should always be growing. The last thing was I took it for granted. And I see that happening now to a large degree when people think it's impossible and it's never going to end, or it's so good. And that was a fool's errand for me. I took it for granted, and, not developing myself, not developing my team, and taking it for granted was, I think, as a whole, the single biggest issue that cost me everything that first time around. And the biggest lessons I took away was, find people who are teachable and coachable. They don't have to be necessarily experienced, but they have to be teachable and coachable. Build them into who you need them to be, and then let them go be successful for you. Don't get in their way. Always be growing as a person. Always be growing as an individual, and stay in your lane. Master something first before you move on to something else. Make sure that plate is spinning and it's solid and it's not going to fall over. And then if you decide you want to bring something else into the fold, go do that. From 2012 to 2018, I rehabbed. Period. I didn't introduce wholesaling into my organization at all because we needed to master that. 2018 is when I brought wholesaling in a big way. And that still caused implications and ripples in my organization to add a second business model, second exit strategy in my organization. But at that point, my business was stable enough that I could do that. And so that's, I think, the point I want to make is, there are people, they want to grow and scale. Everybody wants to grow and scale, but sometimes they'll do it when they're not ready. They've done a couple of deals and they want to add like 5 people to their team and then walk away and be a CEO, an absent CEO. That's the kind of thing. It's like, you got to get in and roll up your sleeves and do the work. You got to get in and roll up your sleeves and make the foundation of your business stable, first. And that's, I guess, the thing I want people to understand is this is business. Businesses, they're tough. It's real. It's people's lives on the line, and you got to be willing to do the work to get where you deserve to be. You can't just like throw somebody in there and turn around and walk away. That's what I did the first time, and I was an idiot.
Yeah, no, dude, I love it. I mean, you're speaking truth right now to people, right? It's not always rainbows, cupcakes, and unicorns.
No.
There's ups and there's downs. Right. And I love what you just did there. I mean, you owned your company, right? It's not that my team was wrong. I was the wrong leader at that time.
Right.
And I think that's a huge growth that you probably couldn't have said back then that you can say now, right? So that's a big one. I mean, because, lots of people, they get into this and they hear about guys like you, they see what I do, and they're like, well, but I don't have people. I don't have an office. I don't have team. It's just me right now. And so I want to lean in on something that you did say, which was the shiny object syndrome, right? Like, I even fight myself with that today. Because my problem is I'm a serial entrepreneur. Like, I see somebody doing something, I'm like, oh, I could do that. Oh, I could build a company to do that. Oh, I could do that. And I have to constantly like saying, no, stop. And I think it's once you become aware that you are doing that is when you can correct it. And
right.
A lot of times new people aren't aware of that. I mean, think about it, Don. I mean, we live in such a micro information society. Everything's micro information, micro videos, 1 to 2 minute videos, micro this, micro that, that our attention spans are shorter than they've ever been because of our economics, our economy, the way everything is positioned in front of us. It's all micro. If you didn't have ADHD, our society is going to give it to you.
Oh, I agree 100%. Absolutely.
So I love that shiny object syndrome. Issue really. So let's move over to the next thing. So now let's fast forward. You went, you learned, you went down, you said, look, I'm not staying down, I'm coming back up, I'm going to build it better. So what have you done over the last, say, 7 years, 6 to 7 years, that you would say you have done right this time?
Captioned with I'm still imperfect and I'm still learning and I'm still growing. I think, the building of a team, getting out of people's way. Like, I always tell this story, you as an entrepreneur, we think we got to pull this cart up the hill, right? There's the hill of success, and we think we got to pull this cart up the hill, to the top. And when we get to the top, when we are on our way down that success, and we're throwing widgets and people on the back of this cart, and we get to the top of the hill, and then we think we got to carry the cart back down.
Right.
But the reality is that if you get out of the way of the cart's going to move a hell of a lot faster on the way down without you. So what I think that I've learned this time was to get out of the way of the cart. I put good people in place, and then I let them do a good job for me.
That's awesome.
And that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned. I always tell people that, there's how many multi-million-dollar corporations are out there running successfully every day? There's thousands of them, right? How many of them are you at the helm?
Right.
So there are obviously good people that know how to be successful without you in their way.
So let's take a little bit of a step back. 2012, you're starting back up again. You didn't roll back in and just build a big team, right?
Well, no, but so 2012, and this is contrary to what I said about don't build a team until you're ready. But I had a buddy that I was having coffee with him one day, and I told him what I was going to do, and I painted this picture of this glorious business I was going to build, and he's like, I want to be a part of it. And I knew he was a good manager. He was a great manager of people. I'd worked with him before, and I knew that I would need a project manager at some point. And so he's like, I will follow you on the first couple of deals. And so he followed me on the first couple of deals for free. And then I got to a point where I could pay him a little something. And I paid him. And here's the thing: it's like people always ask, well, what do they need to make? What do they want? What do they this? You just tell them what you can do. And if they're in, they're in. If they're not, they're not. And so I paid him what I could. Not what he should have got, not what he wanted, but what I could as an organization, because the healthier organization is first, right? If you don't take care of yourself first, you can't take care of anybody else. And so I paid him what I could on the next handful of deals, and eventually got to the point where he was running them on his own. And now he gets paid very well. He is my project manager. He's my number one project manager to this day. I bought him a car for Christmas. I bought him Jeep Grand Cherokee for Christmas. So because he's so phenomenal at what he does, he went along for me for the ride. So I brought in an individual who is now the broker for the real estate arm we have early on as well, and kind of the same thing, painted the picture where we're going to go. So I started building my team a little early. Those were the first two. I didn't really hire anybody else probably until I got to the point of I hated life. But I knew I needed a team. And so I hit that wall of hating life, and I brought the next person in. And then I realized I needed to hire for where I wanted to be. Not a saying I came up with. Somebody said that, and I loved it. But I started hiring for where I wanted to be. I looked at where I wanted to go in my organization, what piece I needed to put in place, and I started doing that. But even then, I didn't do that until I could as an organization. So I don't know if that answered your question or not.
No, it does, man. And I love what you're saying there. I mean, I think a lot of people need to hear that, because sometimes I think you made an excellent point when you said you don't hire people based on what they want, but you hire people based on what you can do, because the strength of the company is what's going to actually build everybody into more pay, more freedom, more involvement. I did that. I'm a preacher of that. I mean,
right.
I've got a lady that helps me. Well, you met her. You met Jill. When she came in, she was a customer support person. And I just saw, I was like, she can do more than what she's doing. And but that's where I could hire her at, right? And then it just grew and developed. And now she's in profit sharing and all kinds of other things. And she's a driver, man. She's a driver.
But that's also the skill you need to develop as a leader, is recognizing talent when talent is there, and then putting that talent in the right seat when you're capable of doing it as an organization.
Right.
So
no, I'm 100%. I'll give you a pow on that one. What about this?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get back towards some of the deals. So, on average, with your flips, what's your average profits on your flips right now in your market?
29,000 is our average. We don't do Bay Area flips, though. I'll just throw that out there. We do our stuff is Central Valley. Central Valley, California, as you know, is comparable to most of the country.
Yep.
So our average flip profit's about 29 grand. We have the 60s and whatnot, but
Yeah, but those are like the ones that we like to talk about more than anything, but they're the ones that, and I was just saying this to a guy I was interviewing a guy by the name of Shannon down in the Biloxi area. It's him and his brother, and they've done like over 600 houses. They do like 60, 70 a year themselves, and they're just good guys, right? And they're in the middle of like nowhere.
Right.
But they were running a deal, and it was like a $70,000 profit deal. And but we had the conversation, which I'm sure you'll agree, it's the 15s and the 20s and the 25s that keep you going.
Mm-hmm.
Get to the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s wins, right? But, I just want to make sure all my viewers are watching this. I mean, this ain't fake news here. The 60s and the 70s don't come every month.
No. And if you're doing any kind of volume, I mean, that's your average is not going to be $70,000 a deal. You got to have the base hits,
yes,
in between there. So, and that brings your average down, but it's still, I love the base hits. They're the ones, they're the bread and butter.
Yeah, absolutely. They're the easy ones too, right? It's just you're in and out in 2 to 3 weeks, and they're back on the market. Like in our area, we're 15 to 25. That's kind of our window. Yeah. We average about 22,000 if we average out our books on our deals. I don't know. What is your average price point in the valley there? Your resale price point for a single family?
So the median is about 250. Our average resale is right in the between 175 and 200 mark is where
that's the same as ours in Alabama, man.
Yeah.
That's exactly, it's like where I live, our medium home price right now is like 255, 260. But we try to play in the resale range of like that 150 to that 225 range.
Which is where we try to stay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Better. First time, second time buyer price point. Perfect.
I'm telling you, man. That's the largest pool of buyers.
Yep.
So
that's what matters.
All right. Well, that's good. So from California to the Midwest to the South, I mean, depending on where you are, everybody's kind of running around the same price points. Now there's markets that obviously, in the Bay are going to be.
Yeah, we're doing, we're in Alameda County and like we did a rehab up there about a year or so, about probably a year and a half back. We did a rehab up in Alameda County just to do it. And the entry level price point in that area is about $650, $650. That's your first time buyer price point. So, there are markets in California that are nuts. We just put a property in contract the other day at $1 million, up in the Bay Area. So it's.
Yeah, listen, I lived there. I know. I lived in a 1,200 square foot house. No lie. Yeah. It was $1 million home.
Yep.
And I thought to myself, this is insane. I look, nothing against California, but I couldn't get out of there fast enough, man.
My wife was born and raised here. Her family's here. I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. Otherwise,
I kind of got talked into going because my kid's mother, her side of the family are Filipino. So Vallejo is like the ground for all of them out there.
Right. It is. Yes.
So that's where I remember when I moved out there, I was like one of very few. Back then I had blonde hair, blue eyes, men walking around, and I got stared at a lot. So, all right. Well, Don, I appreciate you sharing all that. The ups, the downs, the wins, the shiny object thing. I love that. I love that you were vulnerable to even admit, like, hey, I just wasn't a good leader back then. But I know what I did wrong, and I know what I'm doing now. So tell me, what are the next 12 months for your company look like?
Well, one of the things that we talked about before this call, this interview, was that we went to pretty much 100% closing over the phone in our operation, and we've got it all dialed in. We got to get so many contracts a week, times so many weeks with an average attrition rate figured out. So our goal for 2020 is to land at 250 closed. We'll see. We'll see how that looks. We want an average profit of 20 grand on that 250. That's our ideal goal. So we and we're on track to do that. We put 22 contracts in contract this month to date, 22 or 23. I think they got one this morning. And to hit my goal, I need to put 30 properties in contract a month with a 25% attrition rate. Like I'm saying, I'm dialed in, man.
Yeah, I can see that.
You know, so, you know, and we know how many average contracts each person in our organization needs to put in per week to make that happen. And everybody this month was basically, you know, either at their number or better than their number. So we're good, you know, for the goal this month. So everybody's on track as we're climbing up that ladder to the goal, the major goal we want to hit. So that's where I'm landing at $5.2 million.
Are you going to stay in flipping and wholesaling? Or are you going to add like some buy and holds into that? Or like,
well, we do buy and holds from time to time. I do. My whole goal right now is I got the COO in place. She's newer in my organization, but she's getting a good run at it. We got a few things to work out before I can completely let go. And once I completely let go, then I want to go into commercial and large multifamily units. That's where I want to go. But I do not want to do that. I don't want to go shiny object until I know that this is handled at the level I need it handled. I do not want this operation to dip or change in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I want it to grow without me at the helm, period. So as soon as I hand that off to her, I'm going hard in commercial and multifamily.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm making a big push to just keep raising more money right now. That's right. Like, I'm moving in that direction pretty heavy. So that's cool, man. So, I mean, let me just ask this real quick. The goal's 250 houses next year, and 20,000 a piece. How many people do you have on your team over there then? Just going after deals? Or I guess they would be acquisition specialists. How many?
So we just shuffled things around. So we were 8 people in the front end, including dispo. I think now we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and our dispo. So we're still 8. Okay. And then, so on the acquisition side, we are 8, including our dispositions. So I consider him sales. Yep. So, and then I have 2 project managers. We have an office manager and then her assistant or her admin, and then we have our real estate arm. So we sit around between 14 and 16 people in our organization at any given time, depending on any kind of shifts within our organization.
Making it happen, man. Yeah. All right, big question. What do you think about the current market? You see any changes or anything that we should be thinking about in where you're at?
You know, everybody wants to say there's going to be some calamity or collapse or something happening. I don't feel like that's going to happen anytime soon right now. I mean, political, things can change and can affect the market. There could be, something another country does that can affect the market. But the underlying things that caused the last crash, the liar loans, all the crazy things that were going on, I don't see that happening. It's not happening. I have seen commercials for what are they?
Stated
income loans.
Yeah,
I've seen commercials for that.
I've seen it too.
So it's happening again.
Yeah,
but it's not at the level. I
started seeing them earlier this year.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So that's happening, but not at the level it was. So some of the things that would normally scare me personally, I'm not seeing. Interest rates are still low. What I'm seeing in my markets, I'm actually personally looking for a house. Is anything that's decent is gone. Like, bam, gone. There's no inventory out there hardly at all worth picking. There also isn't a whole lot of demand. So I feel like there's pent up demand, and I feel like people are just waiting to see what's going to happen. And so I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure if that means we're going to go on a little bit of a run for a minute or not. But my bet, if I was going to bet, and I don't necessarily bet the market, but if I was going to bet the market, I would say we're going to go on a little bit of run for a minute before we go down.
I got you.
That's where my head's at.
No, I like to ask everybody that. I mean, in my market, I'm pretty plugged in here. I go sit with a lot of the banks, the vice presidents, and I'm like, hey, what are you guys talking about in the boardroom? Like, what are you guys? Because here's my theory. I don't think the market's going to really go anywhere anytime soon. I think if anything does change, it's going to be because the banks have decided to tighten up loans.
Yeah.
That's where I think we're going to feel it. But I'm with you, man. You see it. It's like next thing you know, Housewire will pop up and say, 2020, the recession's coming. And then 2 minutes later, Housewire will put another post out that says, 2020, best year ever for real estate. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Where are you getting your data from?
All I know is that I run my business based on what I see right now. I don't speculate anymore. I don't bet the market. When we buy to rehab, we buy for what we know we can sell it for today. We get in there, we get it done. Our average turn time is 100 days. And that way, if anything does change in the market, we're not caught. That's the advice I give anybody.
No, I'm with you. And I'm big on cash flow, man. Like we flip, we wholesale, but it's only, the whole purpose of it is just to take that money and buy more cash flow. And and we do a lot of the burr. I mean, you're familiar with that. We'll buy them and refinance them out. But like, even I teach my coaching students, like, look, when you refinance, stop at 70%. Just stop.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, like, don't go over that. If you bought it right, you got it cheap enough, 70% would be great for you. Because if the market does turn, you're not over leveraged, you're good. You're not putting yourself in a bad position. So I love that. All right. So we already talked about all that. What about, what's some of the best advice you'd give a brand new person right now watching this saying, man, I really want to go. I really want to go. I really want to go. I don't know what to do. What's the best advice you'd tell?
Massive imperfect action. You know, there's so much information out there between YouTube and podcasts like this one, and you name it. I have a podcast called Flip Talks Rookie Playbook. I can see playbook behind you, my first deal playbook, which I'm sure is phenomenal. I have a podcast called Flip Talk Rookie Playbook, which takes you week by week. If you're somebody that wants to learn, it's free. It's out there. You know, there's 1,000 sources to get information. I would say get the information you need to take action and take action on it. Don't get analysis paralysis. Don't get in education period mode. Get some basic information, take massive action. Get a little bit more basic information, take massive action. You're not going to learn by not doing. You have to do. Everything that I've learned from failure. I am a failure to this day. I make mistakes every single day. And mistakes are the reason why I make money. Yeah, we all, those are successful. We figured that out, right?
Listen, I don't mean to cut you off, but yeah. I believe that you learn more through mistakes than you do through success.
Mm-hmm. You know, I was watching Undercover Billionaire, and I love that show. Yeah. And this quote, I threw it around on a live a few months back, but you either win or you learn.
Yep.
Period. There's no failure. You either do it and you.
About that?
What's that?
Was that you that posted?
Yeah, yeah, that was me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, because I was all over that, because that's the truth. You either win or you learn. There's no such thing as failure. You either learn, you either successful at it, you go, okay, that worked, or you learn how not to do it again. And that's it. That's as simple as it gets. And that's the best advice that I think that somebody should take away is just get out there and do it, because you don't know what it looks like until you stick your foot in it and either screw it up or make it happen.
I like it. All right, man. I got some fire questions for you. They call it my hot fire questions.
All right.
Ready for these? Hey, listen, guys. If you love what Don's got to say, go check out his podcast, Flip Talk. Right? It's just
absolutely
Flip Talk, right?
Flip Talk.
Go check him out, guys. I mean, he's got a phenomenal show. He does the same thing. He interviews people. He gives great value. He helps you whether you're new or you're seasoned, trying to dial some systems in. But I got some fire questions for you. Let people get to know you a little better.
Okay.
What's your best place to go on vacation?
I like to camp and I like Disneyland. I think those are the two choices. It's all about my kids when I go on vacation.
What was your first automobile?
Pontiac Sunfire. Embarrassing.
I had a 72 Gremlin. Favorite season or holiday?
Probably Christmas, just because it feels more like home.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm the same. Best podcast?
Yours, of course, 100%.
All right, outside of mine and outside of yours, what's your best podcast you like listening to?
Oh, you know, to tell you the truth, I can't say that I can land on just one. You know,
there's a bunch of them. Right?
Yeah, if I'm trying to have a good time, probably something around, you know, in the Joe Rogan realm. In the business side of it, there's just a lot of good ones out there. I don't have.
Oh, I know. Yeah. There really is. When you listen to them, do you put them on speed up?
I do. Have you ever listened to Gary Vee on 1.25 speed or 1.5 speed? Man, whoa, talk about brain burnout.
I have. Or here's what I like to do more than anything. I like to turn mine on and slow it way down because I got that Southern drawl in me.
Right.
Like, y'all want to come over here. All right. Favorite food, man?
You know, I'm a food eater. But sushi is probably one of my top.
Love it. Early to rise or sleep in?
I am nocturnal by nature. Most of my best creativity happens at midnight or 2 a.m. So I am a sleep-in guy. By nature of the beast, I am flip-flopped out of my nature. I get up fairly early and I do my thing. But if I'm being real, I think people should be real. Like if I want to knock something out and be creative, and I know this is a fire round, but do what you got to do. Like I will purposely stay up late because I know that as soon as I hit a certain time, my creative juices will kick on and I will knock something out of the park.
Yeah, mine's around 10 o'clock. I know what you mean. I get it. All right, what's your favorite book?
How to Win Friends and Influence People would be the one I list as my favorite because that's the one that put me on the path. I was a fighter. I didn't get along with people when I was a kid for various reasons. I had a principal give that to me, changed my life. I think that the How to Win Friends and Influence People is one of the best undercover how to be a salesman book in the world, and people should read it.
I got it on one of my bookcases around.
Yeah.
All right, favorite movie of all time?
Oh, well, probably Godfather. I'm not going to lie.
Godfather. Out of the family.
Yeah.
Don, I've enjoyed having you on, man.
I appreciate it.
Good to pick your brain and all the success you've had and the drive and the commitment and the ups and the downs and the self-realization that you had to go through. I mean, on track to do 100 plus, almost 250 next year. I mean, you're a real deal Holyfield, my friend.
I appreciate that, definitely. So we'll have to get you on the Flip Talk podcast here real quick.
I'd do it in a heartbeat, man. All right, guys, you heard it here. You heard it first. This is Zack Childress with Coffee with Closer, and our closer today was Don Costa. If you want to get more information with him, check him out on Flip Talk. Until the next one, I'll see you again. Zack Attack out.